so much, Ruchika. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
The energy is low. Has it been like this since morning? Because I came late. Has it been like this?
No.
Do we have leaders sitting in the room? Like I heard from Nidhi that we have this workshop for leaders. Yes. Doesn't look like. Where is the energy? Some hungry. We have some hungry bunch of leaders right here. So no worries. We will see eventually how much energy we have. But then, to begin with, what I want you all to do is, I'm giving you these post-its. Okay. What I want you to do is draw who you are. I know you have been talking since morning, and I won't make you talk much. I'll make you do much. So all you have to do is draw who you are. Each one of you. Trust me. When I say each one, like when you get free, please you also join us. So all yours. Can you all do that? That's the thing. That's the thing. Someone asked me how do we draw? That's the thing. You don't need to write, you need to draw. You can write maybe a word or so, but I would want you to draw who you are. And we have 3 minutes for this, by the way.
So, like, make a cartoon character. You want like a caricature kind of a thing?
Caricatures.
Like a cartoon character.
Any kind of scenes, anything which can depict that it's you. Who you are. Draw who you are. Did you guys get it?
No, that's it.
Everyone has it.
I was thinking myself to be like Aishwarya Rai. Wow.
So let's have it. Okay, so guys, 1 minute is already up, so we have 2 minutes.
This looks better than me. I think that's good. It's more like a little girl.
You just keep it to yourself. Are you all done? 1 minute left. Draw who you are. So draw everything of who you are. Is anyone ready? Okay, perfect. Can we have you? Can we quickly have you here? All you have to do is just bring your post-it here. Quickly.
Name or something?
Yeah, I think we should.
We should write a name. Should we write a name? Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's your name? Who you are. So guys, let's hear also who you are. She's a diamond. Can we clap for our diamond? Her name is Sakshi is a diamond. Sakshi, I think she's a flower as well. Rose is yours. Who you are? Rose. Your name is Payal. Payal is a rose, guys. Can we again clap for Payal? Thank you so much. Who you are? Shruti is what? I'm hoping that I don't need to ask Shruti why she said she's water. I think you all know it, right? Shruti, why are you water? I blend it. She blends in. Wonderful. So guys, you will have to do also and we'll have to see also. It's like double activity together. So we have and there's a circle All of you. Someone who wanna tell me who you are? Like you find yourself very interesting. You wanna tell me who you are? A sky full of stars, she says. How beautiful is that? Yeah? How beautiful is that?
I did write it, but she can ask. She can ask me too.
So guys, 30 seconds more. I would want everyone to put the post-its right here and then take your seats.
You also have to participate. Please come. Amar, Aman. Yeah. Please come here. Oh, I can see, new faces also. Please come and join.
Can I also get a photo?
You have to take your sticky notes.
Okay. Settle down everyone, and those who are standing at the back can also join us here. Okay. So guys, I see a beautiful butterfly here. Who is butterfly? Why are you butterfly?
So butterfly is like they are soft of everywhere. They spread love and beauty all over.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. I see a very interesting book here. Who are you? I think it's Akshata. Yes, Akshata. Why are you a book?
Open book.
Open
It's a
book.
open book.
Wonderful. Who is this? Who's this cute little fairy right here? Who's that? Come on, recognize yourself. There is a lot of things. Like there's a whole women right here. Like who is it? Someone made it and forget who you are. Like that's what maybe it happens with us most of the times. That in life we forget who we are or what. Okay, who is this? It has a very strong kind of like a heart, a fire. It's innovation, passion. Okay, who you are?
It's a mix of a lot of emotions that I have shared. So there's strongness, but there's also love, and there's also innovation and passion to drive whatever I'm, doing. So
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Here's a very beautiful and interesting one. Who's this? It's I think a duck. Like I don't know, a peacock. Who you are? And on what is this? Like what do you have in your mind? Calm on the surface? Wow. How beautiful that feeling is. Calm on the surface but pedaling within. Isn't it each one of us? Like we appear to be very calm sitting in this room. We are like, hey, we are like women and women leaders, But then within, professionally, personally, what's going on only we know. Maybe, just one or two push and some of us might even cry to the core till stopped. Right? That's how we struggle. That's not just women, but that's, I think, human all around. So thank you so much for all these beautiful shares. I want to ask you, what was different here? Like some of you said, no, like ye nahi ho payega. I can't draw. What changed when you had to draw? When you have to speak, you don't stop. But when you have to draw, what changes?
We have some limiting beliefs. You have to process your thoughts and articulate it while you're writing it down. So I think that's more of what you understand yourself when you're doing it. When you're speaking, it's more
For the others that are around, but when you're writing it, it's more when you're speaking to yourself. So I think that's what changed.
So don't you think that all our life we have been taught so much to speak,
It's more like creative thinking about your own self.
which we generally
Don't
do,
Yes.
which we have forgotten. Because all our lives we have been trained so much to speak, you know, speak about yourself. Come on, tell me about yourself. That you forgot the basic instinct of yourself as a human. When you were born, the first thing that you did was not utter a word, but you scribbled somewhere. Do you remember those walls of your houses? Or those books which your mom or your dad would have shared with you? What you scribbled. Can you all remember your first painting, by the way? Like, the first ever painting which you made. Like, maybe as a full-fledged painting, scenery kind of thing. It had a house. It had mountains, some kind of mountains. Was there a sun? That sun had some rays going. Oh my god, same. Was there a pond? There was a pond with a duck, the similar as yours. Was there a tree? A coconut tree or a general cloudy tree? Cloudy tree. So you know, it took me a lot of time to understand that this is not a tree. This is just cloudy tree. I should draw leaves, but then I understood I cannot be drawing so many leaves, so I kept on with that cloudy tree. That happened with all of you as well? Okay. What else was there? Some grasses, you know. Grass is bigger than the tree at times. Clouds. Two clouds were enough. Itna bada sky hai, aur kya karoge isse? Birds. Just like an arrow. She has boats also. Kis mein boat tha? Who all had boats? Super creative ones, guys. Super creative ones. Kuch aur? Sun coming out. Flowers. What else? So I was so super creative. मेरे में नदी भरी है ऊपर से सीधा नीचे तक. सीधा नीचे straight like pebbles on the sides. House doors. Guys, from where you are, like which locations? Can you quickly call out the location? Delhi, Mumbai. I'm from Delhi. Kolkata. Mumbai. So सब जगह पे सेम ही पेंटिंग सिखा रहे थे क्या? How is that possible? And by the way, we are talking about the time जब शायद WhatsApp नहीं था. मतलब I remember when I was in college, I shifted from BBM to WhatsApp. So that means when we were learning painting, WhatsApp और viral सब कुछ नहीं हो रहा था, right? Then how do you think everyone was learning the same painting? Teachers WhatsApp each other or send each other कि आज बच्चों को यही सिखाना है? No. Trust me, I have talked to people around the world and they were also doing the similar kind of thing, maybe with a little bit of difference. The kind of house you were drawing, maybe they were drawing a little bit of different house. The way some people have drawn coconut tree, some people have drawn cloudy trees and so on and so forth. But we all were doing similar things. Why? Because that's the basic human instinct. No one, trust me, has been teaching us this, but it comes naturally. The way you look at things, you draw them. Like that's more of you. So it's more easier. It's the easiest thing, trust me. You can find it difficult to speak. You cannot find it difficult to draw. The only problem is you have stopped drawing. You have stopped being creative. So I have heard from people saying that, Komal, I'm creatively challenged, you know, don't ask me to do this. And I'm like, you can be technically challenged. I agree. You cannot be creatively challenged. So today, like, we definitely will hit the buzzword design thinking, innovation in leadership. We'll touch all of that, but all I want to tell you is that it starts with very basic things of humanity. We as humans have been born creative. We have been born as storytellers, you know. Had this been a session on storytelling, I would have taken you to the ride of how you all are storytellers, but not for today. Today, you all have to be creative because you are. Can we all be creative? Yes, from now onwards, not just now. Okay, perfect. So let's start with this session. Before we actually dive into deeper, I want your expectations, you know. I want to know from you, what are you expecting out of this session? What will happen at the end of 1.5 hours? What will happen? What will happen? Take a 1 hour. Any tension, dude, stress. Half an hour? What will happen? That's creative. But what will happen during this session? Because I assume when we sit and we spend our time on something, it should really give us something. And most heartbreaks in the world happen due to, you know, heartbreaks. Yeah? So I don't want heartbreaks today. What are you expecting? Quickly, if you can just tell me out. What will happen? Breaking up barriers. Yeah. What else?
Discover new things.
Discover new things. Okay, what else? Okay. What else? What's design thinking, by the way? How many of you know what's design thinking? Okay, 1, 2. We go basics, 3 hours. Okay. So guys, I'll tell you what we are going to do today. We will not take much of the time, but still I'll tell you what we'll do today. So first of all, we have to feel safe and trust each other, because when you do design thinking or something like creative, we most of the time feel like, how can I share my drawing with people? But now all your drawings are up there. We know how well or how not well you all draw. So just feel comfortable. Embrace discomfort. This is going to be uncomfortable, trust me. Like, this is not a very comfortable workshop where you can sit and just talk a little. That's not how it is. It's a serious play. Design thinking in itself is a play, but it's a serious play. And we will see that together here. Moving on. Oops. I think we'll skip this part. This is not skipping. They want me to know you. Okay, so these are the companies, by the way, I've worked with. And either you'll find me like this because I'm a poet. So I'm a professional poet. I write in Hindi, Urdu and English. This topic itself is so close to my heart because most of my poetries are on women. But I'll hold myself and maintain my grace to be this today, because this is what I am here for. We are going to cover this. We are going to talk about innovation. We are going to talk about culture imperatives. We are going to talk about design thinking and how is it connected to leadership. We are going to talk about how design thinking, how we actually can dive into it. And finally, we are going to talk about some of the tenets of design thinking. It might be very complex and I can thrash away this whole agenda. It depends on you. You have to drive this workshop and I'll follow you. But let's start. Let's start somewhere. And where we are starting is, there's a World Economic Forum. Anyone knows about it? Yes? World Economic Forum, they meet, these people, scientists, professionals, doctors, they meet every year almost, and they take out this list of most relevant skills in the market, the skills which are required for a professional to acquire. Can anyone tell me the most relevant skills, top 3 skills of last time? Anyone? One? So the most relevant skill was complex problem solving, the first one. The second one was critical thinking, and the third one was creativity. It will be interesting for you to know that creativity jumped from number 10 to number 3 and has been consistent from past 10 years on the position. What changed? Earlier we were not creative. Suddenly, why so much demand of creativity? Why so much demand of critical thinking? Why so much demand of complex problem solving? What changed? Problems increased. Do you think problems are more now or problems are more complex now?
We are more outspoken, I think.
We are more outspoken? What else? Today when you go to a restaurant, what do you want? Which restaurant you want to go? Different restaurant. What kind of different restaurant? Variety of food? Experience? Ambience? Theme? Some different cuisine? Service? And I can make a whole list here, right? You ask your parents which restaurant they wanted to go. What answer you'll get? Food. अपने को खाना चाहिए, वो भी अच्छे भाव में, है ना? What changed in them and us? Options came because we wanted them. So what changed? As a demand, something changed.
More awareness.
More awareness. We as humans, we have evolved, if you see, from then to now. And this evolution has been very strong. I do not want to go into the deep of it. But all I can tell you is that now, it's not simple. And everything is complex. Right? And because everything is so complex, you actually have to dive into complex problem solving, critical thinking and creativity. And design thinking is that one thing that binds all 3 together. Now that's the skill design thinking have. Now comes the fact that theek hai yaar, design thinking, but at the end paisa chahiye, nahi? Like, it's all money, right? You have been, I heard even, what's your name? Someone before me, Gayatri. So even Gayatri talked about it, that, it's money and you should be asking about it so prominently out. So at the end it's capital which you require. So is design thinking has something to do with capital M? What? How do you think that design thinking is helping in getting us money? So guys, to tell you, the companies who are working on design thinking have 211% better revenue than the companies who are not. It will be a shock to you to know that we were following a methodology called waterfall. How many of you have worked on waterfall? A methodology of working wherein, okay, you all have been working by the way on waterfall, just that you don't know about it. So when you work in a certain manner. It's from top to bottom. That's waterfall. We all work on it, right? We were moving towards something called agile. That means that we became a little agile. This you all must have heard. Let's be agile, right? And then came design thinking. Now this was a buzzword which came from somewhere, and it was under the sheets, because companies like Facebook, companies like Google, companies like Apple, they have been the star performers when it comes to design thinking, and not everyone. And they kept it under the sheets. It will be interesting for you to know Netflix is a product of design thinking. Airbnb is a product of design thinking. Uber Eats is a product of design thinking. And I can just go on and on and on. It's just that you don't know it. Why? Because it is beautiful. It is beautiful as a, I would say, methodology to use. Now, I'll come on to design thinking, but any questions you have till here? So I want to draw something for you. Anyone who has anything to do with innovation, by the way? Have you innovated at any point in time? How many innovators in the house? I am all up, I'm just asking. How many innovators? Everyone? What have you innovated? Some new recipe?
It could be a child's project.
What's the difference between creativity and innovation? Some new excuse. That's innovative. So I was asking, what's the difference between creativity and innovation? So I'll give you a simple, like the differences are huge. But when your creativity, like the byproduct of your creativity is scalable, that's innovation. Like, mark this borderline. The byproduct of your creativity, that could be a process, that could be a product, that could be a service, that could be an idea, anything. When that becomes scalable, that means commercial. That is innovation. Yes? Now, what is innovation? I'm drawing 3 circles for you to understand it better. One is desirability. Can you remember this word for me? Desirability. When people want it. Yes.
Can anyone just help me with this?
Okay. So the first is D. That's desirability. Now when you are creating something, when you are innovating something, it's for people, right? It's for someone. They should want it. I'll tell you, businesses or innovations for that matter fail because there is no desirability. Can you give me an example? When you think something failed, because we don't need, yes please. Nokia failed. Why did it fail?
Because it did not adapt to the
लोगों को चाहिए ही नहीं अभी. People don't want that phone, right? I'll tell you an example. So I took my mother to Miniso, like one of the very interesting chain, and I was like, my mother would just like buy everything from that shop. But when she went, she was like, chale, and I was like, what? Why? She's like, I don't need it. So our mothers, they don't need that kind of fancy stuff. Maybe we do, but they don't, right? We, for an example, in India, might not want a car which is beyond the limit our roads can actually work, right? So, desirability. If this fails, innovation is gone. The second one is F, feasibility. Can we do it? Is it technically feasible for us to do it? Like all of us want to go to Mars, Moon, space. We want to do so much. I just want to get like, woof, and I'm somewhere. That's strong desirability on our side, isn't it? But what's failing? Feasibility. Maybe it's coming up, but then it's not up to the mark. The third circle is viability. Now, what's viability? Is it viable for the business? Most of the businesses fail because they are desirable. They make product or service which is desirable, which is feasible. They have created it. But at the end, it's not viable. People are not able to afford it, let's say. Yes, can you give me one example of something which is failing because there is no viability?
Tata Nano.
Yes. Tata Nano. Why is it failing?
The concept was good, but it could never really match the expectation of a car.
So, are you sure it's viability? That actually failed because of desirability. We can get down there, but maybe in this workshop, not maybe here. Viability. But coming back, desirability, feasibility, viability. Remember these 3 D, V, F. And at the center of it lies innovation. Any of this, if fails, your innovation is not possible. Ever. Trust me on this. Now, coming on to design thinking. So what innovation has to do with design thinking? You must be thinking, why is it going on? Like, we are in a session of design thinking, then why innovation?
Design thinking is all about innovation, thinking beyond something out of the box.
So what is design thinking? What is it? क्या होता है design thinking?
A new concept.
Okay. What that concept is about?
So you design something
You have never
based
seen
on,
the-
these three
things of humans
things
that
that whatever we are doing has to be desirable, viable, and feasible. And then we align, maybe a backward process, and then we create something.
Okay. I take that. What else? What is design thinking?
Ease of use.
Okay.
Using various apps or websites and kind of creating something out of.
No, so the cheat sheet is wrong. I did that on purpose.
Structure to your thought.
So I did that on purpose. So you cheat from there. Like there is nothing here. Trust me. Like it's some different slide altogether, and I'm talking something else. We have this habit, right? As humans, we are like, अच्छा कुछ तो वहाँ पे लिखा. Trust me. Like ये कोई और ही slide चल रही है, and this slide talks about something wherein these are the companies, by the way, in the world who are design thinking companies. You might not be knowing. It's something like in India when I started design thinking. I think 7 years back, I was with Accenture, and that's when we incubated the whole idea of design thinking. It was just building up. From then to now, I have seen companies taking up design thinking, but still hardly people know about it. I'll tell you the reasons also. It's lengthy as a process, design thinking. Right? It's costly, it's expensive as a whole process. It requires a lot of efforts, and people don't want efforts, people want shortcuts, right? So, but companies, I'll tell you, companies have their IBM as a company has the higher level of investment that they do in R&D and design thinking than they do in their, marketing. Can you imagine that? How many ads have you seen of IBM? Right? So, and it's for that matter for everyone. Like new companies like Nykaa are even design thinking. They are doing design thinking. Why their names are not here? To be a design thinking company, you have to follow a checklist of 8 parameters. You have to have set a number of people who are following design thinking. Like almost 70% of your janta. That means your employees. That requires some huge efforts. I have seen that right in front of me because we took that charge in 2016-17, and in 5 years we trained whole Accenture on design thinking. So because I was there at that time, I know how much effort it requires, and not every company can do it. But trust me, the results are so beneficial that during that time I got to work with almost all of these companies because they are somewhere or the other clients of Accenture, right? And even the clients work with you on design thinking. How many times, guys, you come with a problem, come in front of a problem where you don't know what to do? Like, आपको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है. You're like, मेरे को नहीं पता. I don't know. Very often, even in personal life or professional life, you're like, अब क्या करना है? ये कहाँ से आ गया? And trust me, it often comes at ऐसे भूख वाले time पे ही मतलब. So life happens when you are done having it, right? तो ये ऐसा ही सेशन है कि आई नो यू आर डन हैविंग इट, लाइक सुबह से चल रहा है, बट दैट्स हाउ लाइफ हैपन्स एंड दैट्स वेयर इनोवेशन इज रिक्वायर्ड. अगर सब कुछ ठीक ही चल रहा है तो इनोवेशन की जरूरत ही क्यों पड़ेगी? That's where design thinking comes into picture. And trust me, though this session is on design thinking, Nidhi has asked me to do design thinking, but trust me, I'll not do just that. I'll give you other thinking patterns also, because I'm not an ambassador of design thinking for that matter. That's not the only way of thinking, and I'll tell you that as well. Moving ahead from here, I'll just pass on. VUCA world, like you all must be knowing, the disruption. I think COVID we all have seen, and we know how. I'm just passing on the slides, guys. Let's ditch them. I'll come to the main thing. So guys, you remember evolution, it happened, industrial evolution, right? For labor, right? We brought in labor in place. Second revolution happened, if you mark the milestone of how humans evolved. The first evolution was labor. The second evolution was memory, when we created computers, right? Are you all with me? What the third evolution do you think is going to be about?
Internet.
AI.
Intelligence? Yes, the third evolution. So now all three is done. Like when IBM created Deep Blue, we were done. What still was left then? Creativity. And what else? So by the way, like this was a contest which happened, and then like if you remember this scene, then computer won from a human. Right? So that means computers, as ma'am also said, computers have overtaken, right? Then what are we doing here? Why are we still relevant? Because two things are still left. One is creativity. What is the other one? Empathy. You know it. So these are the only two things which are left, and we as humans have it. One is empathy and one is creativity. And when we put design thinking, these two things are the core of it. I can give you examples wherein we use design thinking, and like you will be able to understand better, but then I don't want to go that deep into that conversation without going there. I think I just want to highlight this one thing to you, that your brain actually has two sides. Your one side which talks about analytical thinking, and other side which talks about creative thinking. Most of the people as they grow up starts using analytical mind of theirs more, because you're always like think before you do. Your parents or teachers are always like सोचो तो सही करने से पहले. किसी ने ये नहीं बोला कुछ मत सोचो बस कर दो. No one said that. And because ये सोचो तो सही, समझो तो सही, do this, do it this way, never, always, these words just created wires into your brains. And that's where analytical thinking became stronger and stronger, and creative thinking somewhere subsided. But trust me, you have equal part of your brains. Now, this we already talked about, right? By the way, this, if it interests you, it was in 2015 and it was in 2020, the relevant skills which I was talking about. Yeah? If that helps. So if you see creativity jump from number 10 to number 3 here, right? Complex problem solving remained like here itself. And by the way, like these are the skills, by the way, which are required to be relevant in the market in 25. How many of you want to be relevant in the market in 25 as well? Everyone? So by the way, these are the skills, if it helps you like a guide. So number 1 is analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. Like it comes with originality and initiative definitely, but yes. This was that DVI I talked to you about, 211% better the companies are doing. Yes. This we already covered. Now what is design thinking? Like यहाँ पे हम थे जब आपने वो cheat sheet देख ली थी. So what is design thinking?
Is it understanding from the consumer's perspective of creating a new
Yes. Yes.
You create a market. There's nothing in the market, but you kind of look into it and kind of understand, get an insight, and then you create a product. When you create a product, maybe you create a market, and then it goes on.
Coffee complex. Thank you. I think it's exactly that.
I think.
Definitely. You're thinking right. What else?
It's more like working on the pain points.
It's working on the pain points, yes.
Identifying a problem or something that can be further streamlined and then working towards that.
Okay. So design thinking is not about thinking what to design. If you want, you can write it. Design thinking is not about thinking what to design. Design thinking is about designing what you are going to think. It's about designing your thinking. You will be surprised to know, by the way, that this whole idea was originated in Stanford's. Jim Kelly, Tom Kelly were the people. And it originated from designing only. They were creating some products, and that's when they came up with the methodology of design thinking. I'll call it methodology. I'll tell you eventually why. But then this is how it was originated. And one of the biggest companies as of now for design thinking is IDEO. It might interest you to go ahead, follow them on YouTube and see how they innovate actually. That will give you exact perspective of how design thinking works. But then, because it was doing such a success in that market of products and designing, it then got adapted to everything, not just to products, but to services, to processes, to everything, right? And now we are at a stage where almost every company is wanting to learn design thinking, but it's expensive, as I told you, right? So moving ahead, I think 3 things which you require when design thinking comes into picture. One is your visual thinking, which we talked about. The second one is post-its, which you all have. And the third one is mantras of design thinking. I'll give you these mantras, okay? The first mantra is quality and not quantity. Quality, not quantity. You can write it if you want. I can even just go ahead and show you what are the mantras of design thinking, maybe somewhere. Yeah. Mantras of design thinking are all these. That means go for quantity. Why quantity? Why not quality? We are always asked to go for quality, isn't it? Why quantity? Yes. Because quality is the killer of your quantity at times. You know, you just sit so much at a time, you're like, meko perfect karna hai. No, design thinking doesn't talk about it. Design thinking is like, let it flow. The second one is defer judgment. Defer it. Like, we always judge so much as humans. To people, to their talks, to who they are, to why they are. Like, why? Defer it for some time. You have all the time in the world to go back and then judge, right? But not at the moment. Think wild. Always think wild. जो आपको लगता है कि यार अगर मैंने ऐसा सोचा तो क्या होगा? Think that. Build on the ideas of others. We are always said, don't cheat, you know, don't copy. Do you think world is running without copying? Do you think like all 5-6 companies created their own phones from scratch and then bought it in the market? Not possible, right? What's happening in the business for that matter? Ma'am, what's happening? Are people just copying from each other then?
Well, they do take the germ of the idea and they add on their own qualities to that and make it more innovative. They make it more innovative and they add more features to it and make it better and create a newer version, a better model and make it more likable to the public, the purchasing public.
Don't you think that's happening? Like one phone comes into the market with, let's say, X feature and then 5 more companies launch it. Then another one comes up with Y feature, let's say foldable screen, and then all the companies come up with, hi, how do you think that's happening? They're building on the ideas of others. We might tell it to the world, don't do this, don't do that, but everyone is doing that. That means that that's again the basic instinct. That's how humans have evolved. Trust me, humans do not compete. People who think humans are competitors, for that matter, humans just evolve. I can pick up 5 of you from here and like make you land on an island. Trust me, you will evolve again. How that's happening? Not by competing. Humans do not piss on each other's territory. They evolve. Animals do. So, हमें ये समझाया गया that you are all competitors, but actually you can evolve together. That's why build on your ideas of each other. Now, very strongly against, like I'm an artist, very strongly against plagiarism or not giving credits or not, like I don't agree to that. So be ethical. But when I say build on ideas of others means like when you work together, build on ideas of others. think user centricity. Most of the times the things we are creating are for ourselves. Isn't it? मेरे को पसंद है. I like it. What about the user? Be visual, which we hardly do. One post-it, one idea. Like always you'll have these post-its. Keep them handy always. Like I'm definitely brand ambassador of post-it. Maybe I've spent so much time with them that now I know how easy they are. You know, keep them with you always on your bedside table, on your office table, and you will see the magic. Always put one thing on a post-it at a time. Like it's not a diary where you just keep on scribbling. Yes? These are the mantras of design thinking. Now what is design thinking? Now you all know. A very simple definition, give me. A very simple one.
Making it better.
Making it better.
Improving the thought process.
Improving the thought process, okay.
Giving the structure to your thoughts.
Okay. Giving ideas. Okay, I'll ease it out for you. A systematic approach of user-centric problems is design thinking. A very systematic approach. What lies at the center of design thinking? Guys, I heard you talking a lot about leadership. For me, this is what is leadership. When it comes specifically around innovation, always you should have a T-shaped personality. When I say T-shaped personality, it has two elements to it. One is empathy, which we all have been talking for so long. Have empathy, have empathy. Kiski taraf? No, matlab, most of the terms in the market today are very overrated if you see. You know, people are like, I'm very empathetic. Like, are you? I'm very understanding. We also know, like, let me not get down there, but we also know that we are just moving around the bus terms. We hardly spend time to discover ourselves. Am I empathetic? When it comes to leadership, how many of you are really empathetic? How many of you are warriors? How many of you are visionary? How many of you are like none of this actually? I think more than anything, you require a personal discovery of understanding who you are, because you should not be playing with your basic instincts of who you are. Why should you be changing that? So coming back, empathy definitely is required, but I think it requires more than just a terminology. It requires efforts to understand your empathy is not towards yourself. Your empathy is towards someone else. Your subordinate, your supervisor, your family, your user, your consumer. That's empathy. Your expertise, I think we all are experts in the fields, so I'll not go there. But when empathy and expertise combine, we actually are capable of doing innovation. Without any of this, I'm sorry, but this falls apart. We cannot innovate. Yes? So now, coming back to what's design thinking, I'll give you very easy work here. This is what is design thinking. Discover. The first phase of design thinking is you discover. Has it ever happened with you? You were like, there is a problem, but I don't know what's the problem. Has it ever happened? Yeah, it happens. You're like, there is some issue. Most of the time you're like this about people. You're like, there is some issue with this person, but I don't know what that is. It happens. About situations, right? That's discover. That's why design thinking says, let's discover it. The second, describe. Has it ever happened with you? You're like, I know it, but I can't tell it. Always, always. Like, मुझे पता तो है. ये स्कूल से शुरू हो गया था. When school में we were like, मैम मेरे को आता तो है. बस मैं बता नहीं सकता. So that's describe. That's why it's super important. The third stage is ideate. We hardly ideate. We are so judgmental. We have our super duper conceived notions always that the moment someone tells us the problem, we are like, मुझे पता है क्या करना है. You are not from that industry. You have not heard the whole problem also. You don't know a thing about it, but you always will have solution with you. Do you agree? Like it's about all of us, right? So एक तो दूर रहो मतलब ऐसे लोगों से. Ideate, the third stage. The fourth stage is prototyping. Just because we have ideated something and that's a fabulous idea does not mean it's going to work unless and until you have prototype. I'll double click on all these stages, but then covering it for you, the last one is testing. That if you think your prototype is good, still you have to test it. Right? So, by the way I said that to do this, you have to be empathetic, number one. And number two, doing this, you're not going to keep this thing as a service or product or process at home. You have to make it scalable. Because this is innovation happening right here for you. Yes? So do you guys have the mantra of innovation? All set? खाना खा ले हो जाएगा? You're like खाना तो खा लिया लेकिन कोमल ने आधी बात बताई करना क्या ये नहीं पता. Right? थोड़ा सा कर लेते हैं. So guys, there are 3 things to it. One is why of design thinking. We talked about it, isn't it? We talked about what is design thinking. And now we are going to talk about how design thinking. Because trust me, without you know how you do it, you actually cannot do it. So we will be covering how on design thinking. I'll skip the most of the parts for you, but then I'll come to the most important part, tools of design thinking. There are, by the way, some 500 plus tools on design thinking if you don't know. And the most interesting part is that every single tool is super interesting and can actually make you create something, can actually make you innovate on something. We will cover some of these. I'll just cover on the layers because this is not a workshop. In a workshop, what we all would do is we will actually generate those ideas. We'll actually pick up problems and do it and solve it. Today we might not be able to do that, but I'll cover that for you in pieces, right? Mini pieces so you understand what is design thinking. Shall we do that? Yes. अब फिर एनर्जी बहुत ही लो है. बाय द वे मैंने बार बार बताया मैं आर्टिस्ट तालियों के बिना हम काम ही नहीं करते. मतलब पता नहीं आप लोग हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू बाय द वे आर लाइक आपने पोएट्री सुनी है कभी भी? एनीवन हु इज अ पोएट्री एंथुसियास्ट फॉर दैट मैटर? नन ऑफ यू. देयर इज वन. वी फाउंड वन. पीपल वर स्ट्रेस्ड. सुनाएंगी तो नहीं? पीपल लाइक हाथ ही खड़ा नहीं कर रहे. नहीं अब ये खाना खाने की बात करेंगे हम. बट यस, सो गाइज वी अंडरस्टूड व्हाट्स डिजाइन थिंकिंग, बट एज आई टोल्ड यू कि उसके कुछ टूल्स हैं. व्हाट इज डिजाइन थिंकिंग? इट्स अ प्रोसेस, इट्स अ मेथडोलॉजी. मैंने आपको कहा था मैं बाद में बताऊंगी क्यों. इट्स नॉट अ टेक्नोलॉजी, इट्स नॉट अ टेक्निक, इट्स अ मेथडोलॉजी. यू नो स्विमिंग? एनी ऑफ यू? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू? Can I get you into a room, give you a book on Java or Python, you come out of this room and can you say I know it? Yes. I give you a book on any technique, let's say. You get into a room, you come out after 3 months and you can say I know that because you have read it so well. You can?
No, we've not practiced it.
You'll have to practice. Let's say you had things within to practice it also. Like internally you had computer. Can you do the same thing with swimming for that matter? With cycling for that matter? You need to actually jump into the pool to do it, right? Same as with design thinking. It's not a technique that you can know. Even 90% of it you cannot know just by reading. You'll have to literally do 90% practical there to actually understand what's swimming. The similar is with the design thinking. It's all in the practical. That means design thinking is a methodology. It's not a technique. Yes? So there is only on the surface of it which I can tell you today, but still, let's try. So multiple tools are there and every tools for your interest would lie into one of the cycle. Do you remember, by the way, the phases which I told you? What were they? What was the first phase of? Discover. The second? Describe. The third? Fourth? Prototype. Fifth? Test. Okay, perfect. You guys know it now. So now, these are, let's say, the 5 circles, okay? It will be interesting for you to know that I was telling you about waterfall, you remember? In waterfall, we always go like this. You take a requirement from client, you deliver the product in the end. In between, anything goes wrong, you're like, ab ho gaya. Trust me, it happens like that. In Agile, you are like, no, let me work with my client. Do you not want it this way? Shall I change it? You go back and you recreate it. Right now, you must be working this way, all of you, because we have become a little agile. Design thinking is actually another layer to agility. Because you cannot just move back. In agility, you can actually move like this. In design thinking, you can actually move from any to any. That means you could be in any phase and you can come back to the original state. That's what design thinking is. Yes? Now I'll introduce you to the tools. The first tool is persona. You know what's persona? Anyone? Okay. So if I tell you that, who's your consumer, by the way? Anyone? Who's your consumer? Who's your consumer? Pharma client. It's B2C or B2B. So that means the business personnel there. People do not work with companies. People work with people. So who's your, that pharma professional? If I ask you to draw his persona, can you? Yes. Who's your client? Travel professionals. Who are they? Like, what is the demography? All over. Like, all over the places and all over the age. Like, absolutely. So, if I still ask you to draw personas, will you make 5, 6 personas and it will be done? Like, someone, let's say, from India, aged 19, going to college, right? Someone from, let's say, XYZ country, aged 70, working on some company. Works? We can? Who's your consumer? Entrepreneurs. Like, persona. What persona will you create? Visually just create for me.
Who wants to scale?
Who wants to scale? So guys, persona is something, literally, just take my word literally when I say, it's just like this, the photo. You know, you draw it or you put it. I consider my user, that means my consumer, and pick that up. When you say an entrepreneur, obviously there are so many of them. When you say all travel enthusiasts, so many of them. Pharma clients, so many of them. But you pick out, right? And you pick out generic ones and you create their persona. When I say persona, put a name to them. Put age to them. Where they are from. What are their personality? You know, what do they want? Who they are. You just put down everything on a slide. And trust me, how do you think these companies are working? They're working on personas. Even for client meetings, people work on personas, by the way. Like when I am going to do a client meeting, I before that client meeting would make a persona of that particular person. Let's say Judy from Apple, who is the marketing head of the company. Because if I know the persona, let's say she is someone who's very go-getter kind of person, who's, you know, very strict with her ethics and who's very sharp shooter, I would not be doing business storytelling there. So you always should know your clients. That's where persona helps, because when you're going to create for them, every time we are saying empathy, where is it the empathy coming from? Persona. So I know you cannot do it for everyone, but all you can do is every now and then, whenever you get time, when you sit down for this drill, create many of these personas. The easiest way, literally, let's say go on LinkedIn, pick out these people. You will get, like, just click a screenshot. That becomes, let's say, your persona. You will not even have to do hard work. Put that on a slide. Right now, those are your consumers, your people. Works? Yes? So I'll give you an example of it. Have you seen biodata? What is that? Persona. So when you go to, like, let's say a guy is going to meet a girl whose persona he has already seen, he'll behave in that certain manner, right? Because he knows she doesn't like non-vegetarian food, she's this religious, she's that. How? Persona. Right? So by the way, this is what persona is. The second tool which I'm going to introduce you to is empathy mapping. Now a very interesting tool, by the way. Empathy map. What do you think it brings to you? Empathy map. So just do something like this, okay? Just on a big thing, just do something like this. Now you have your personas with you, right? All you do is, you say, what do they say? What do they think? What do they tell? What do they see? Because till you actually do this, whatever you will ideate on, that's your thinking. That's not their thinking. You have not discovered only the problem. So by this, you actually get to discover what are they facing. You know, even you can do that at home, let's say. You're struggling with a child who's coming to you every now and then and saying, this is my problem, and you don't think that's a problem. Right? Why don't you discover? You know your child pretty well. You know the persona. Can you draw this? Can you see what do they say? What do they tell? What do they see? And you will get an idea. Right? Even your customers. Can anyone tell me about your customer? Anyone? Any customer? You work in?
I'm working for an exhibition company, and so our customers are basically all these entrepreneurs and then the brands, big brands also.
So let's say one of them, Mr. Mark. Okay. So when you get to do what Mr. Mark says, what Mr. Mark does, what Mr. Mark see, and what Mr. Mark tell, you will be able to identify a lot about him. The moment you're done with this, one small thing which you have to do. What are the pains? What are the gains? That means from your service or product or whatever, what are the pains of that particular person? And what are the gains of that particular person? Yes? Or what is a pain? You can sit down. Thank you. What's the pain? So pain is something very simple. We identify it very differently, but pain is something promised but not delivered. Like pain matlab main company mein kaam karu. If I ask you to make a consume, like literally a persona of an employee, suddenly you will go, matlab employee is in pain because employee is not getting this salary hike, or employee is not like making the company is making employee work for late and this and that and whatnot. Guys, that's too much of empathy. I think that's too much of emotion. Like, this is business sans emotion. So pain is simple, something which is promised to you but not delivered. That means if you're flying in an aircraft and you think that you were promised a particular seat, you're not given that, that's a pain. Yes? But even if you want to promise that, still you're feeling the pain, sorry, but that's not a pain. They never promised it to you. Right? That's pain. Gain. What's a gain? Not promised but delivered. Something which has not been promised, you got that for free. You'll be like, अच्छा ये तो पता ही नहीं था. खाना पता था यहाँ पे मिलेगा. I was just trying to add to Nidhi's gains, like. So guys, this is gain. So the moment you actually create your empathy map and you mark the pains and gains of your consumer, of your customer, of your client, you will get a very clean problems from here. Gains are something, obviously people are liking it, you keep doing it. Why do you think companies like Zomato or Nearby or Facebook, they keep on just changing features like this? Do you think that happens? Like suddenly TikTok was out and reel of Instagram came in. एक रात में, मतलब क्या हो गया ऐसा? What do you think happened? They suddenly work on a user. Let's say you are the user. They created your personas. You were working, you were saying there that I need TikTok, I need TikTok, I need TikTok. So they bought in reels for you. You were feeling, I need something as a replacement for TikTok. They bought in. Right? All these companies, they are working. That's why they are coming up with features this easy, because it's not their brain, it's not their creativity. When I say, let's say I am an innovation specialist, I don't know your industry, right? You work in pharmaceutical. I might not have worked in pharmaceutical. I don't know things about exhibition. How do I become innovation specialist? Because this is the speciality. So I will not create ideas for you ever. You yourself will create. When we'll actually do a design thinking workshop, you will be sitting, you will be creating the ideas. I'll just be facilitating that for you. Right? So pains. The moment you get these pains from here, I'll give you a third tool, which actually is, कौन सा choose कर लो यहाँ से, because we definitely cannot cover everything, but I'll give you a tool. Rose, thorn and bud, okay. ठीक है, चलो. Rose, thorn and bud. So by the way you discovered problem through persona plus empathy map, the similar way you can discover problem through rose, thorn and bud. Now what are roses? Something which is good. So can I ask you something which is going very well with your business? You write down. On the post-its, here. Thorn, something which is very bad, which is not going well at all. The pain point. Bud, which is okay, which requires little attention, like a bud. So you will get all the points of what's going well, what's not going well at all, and what requires attention. You will get pain points from here as well, and the secondary pain points as well. The similar drill which we did earlier. Yes? So this again is a tool which can help you to discover. And I told you, for every phase there would be so many tools. So many. It's just that you have to find the right combination where to use which one. I'll give you now a very beautiful tool which is the main thing which comes into describe. How might we? Have you ever heard this term? How might we? How? This gives you a hope question. You have to solve it. By the way, this is a very, I would say, most difficult part is to describe. Because you have to reach to this stage right. How might we? Because the moment you have it, you have the problem statement with you. This is your problem statement. And now begins the easiest part of it, which we all are super good at, ideation. Right? Because we have got the problem. We are done with discovery. We are done with describe. We move towards the third part, which is ideate. I think yahan par, like, we all are good at brainstorming. So you do brainstorming, like random brainstorming. Then you make clusters of those, you vote. Like those, I think I'll skip that part because many of you know it, right? The third phase is prototyping. What do you do, by the way, to create prototypes? क्या करते हो आप प्रोटोटाइप कैसे क्रिएट करते हो? कोई भी? Yes. Now what do you do? Sample? Yes.
For an exhibition, we launch a conference first to test the water.
What else? Quickly recall and think of your prototypings. Anything. You just draw it at times. When you're making a card, you just draw it, right? So maybe there are prototypes which are 3D models. There are prototypes which are charts. There are prototypes which are just, paper snippets. Anything and everything, but you have to do a prototype. So before you actually dive in here, you have to do prototyping. And you always should be able to throw away your prototypes. Because the moment you align yourself with your idea, innovation will die. So always be ready to throw it away. Always. The last one is testing. A lot of tools for testing also, but I think aloud testing. Let's say when you look at a website, you do think aloud testing, you say it's not going well. It's going very well. Those kind of techniques you can use. I'll not go there. Anything interesting from here which you want me to cover? I can quickly take up one. Fly on the wall, okay. So fly on the wall is very interesting one. Imagine that I am doing this workshop here, okay? Nidhi is sitting here and Nidhi is someone who's fly on the wall. Fly on the wall is like that camera, which is right there, which is watching you, gazing you, understanding the problem. So it's again a discovery tool because you, to discover the problem, you be present on that situation. Let's say your works. Sorry? It's not similar to deadlock. This is more of discovery, that you be present there as a fly on the wall. No one knows about your presence. That could be a camera, that literally like a fly on the wall, like which is just sitting right there and none of us are aware. That kind of thing. So I'll give you an example. For an example of real innovations, when we do, we actually make people fly on the walls. To be with the teams, to understand what's their problem, to be with the customers, to understand what's their pain point, what's their problem, why are they suffering. Let's say if I have to create a shopping cart, I will make my fly on the walls present in the shopping mall to actually see what customers are struggling with. Because otherwise, how do I know? I know only limited things about shopping cart, isn't it? But that fly on the wall would capture everything from the world. that how people are struggling, what difficulties are happening, how is it usable, how is it not usable. That's fly on the wall. A very interesting one is what's on your radar, which you actually can put something like this. So this is primary, this is secondary, this is tertiary. And the problems which you came up with, like the problems, you put them primary, secondary, tertiary. And that becomes your what's on your radar. Because you cannot solve all the problems at one go. So you solve them eventually. Now the more interesting thing for you to understand here is that, as I told you, each of these have multiple, each of these have multiple tools in it. And how we do innovation is by making a recipe. Now how this recipe, you just tell me a problem and I'll create a recipe out of these tools. Let's say I'll pluck in rose thorn bud with brainstorming plus a paper prototype, and I'll give you a result, right? So you have to actually create a whole recipe to finally come to the result of innovation. It could be very long, where we have multiple tools in place. It could be very small, but it depends on the problem. Always design thinking happens with people. No one can do it individually. You all can only together do it. Yes? What else? Before I actually move down, we have just last 5-7 minutes before we actually move down. So I'll give you this interesting thing about this particular model. Did you see a diamond being made here? That we actually move from divergent thinking to convergent thinking to divergent. Anyone knows what is divergent thinking and what's convergent thinking? When you are someone like, yaar khatam karo kaam, matlab you have to reach to a point where you have to culminate and bring this to closure, right? We have a purpose ahead of us. That's convergent thinking. So this actually is called double diamond, because when I'm asking you to discover, what you're doing is you're moving from convergent to divergent to again convergent to divergent, and it goes on and on like that. Like every single tool that you're bringing on is a part of that. Like for an example, we start with divergent thinking. We have lot of problems with us, but we created pain points to actually identify a problem. We do voting to select one problem out of that. We create how might we, when we create those statements, to actually define that, hey, this is the exact problem. We again went convergent. Now we have one problem. Now I asked you to brainstorm. That means you will again diverge, create multiple ideas. I'll again ask you to cluster them, vote them, select few ideas which you can select. You're again diverging. So it's a model of diverging and converging, and it's continuously happening till the time you get the solution. Yes? Helps? So guys, the last thing which I want to give you as of today is, you never asked me when will you use design thinking. It's such a lengthy and complex kind of thing. कब से use करने वाले हो इसको? आज से? कब? अभी से. So guys, how many of you are interested towards design thinking now? Yes. You think it's something, but so did you realize that you all would have been doing some kind of design thinking on your level, maybe not by the name of this tool, but something? Yes? Maybe by your own tool name, or maybe you are like, मैं ऐसे ही तो करती हूँ. This is my way of working. Right? There are so many tools. Like I'll mark important difficulty matrix. One of the very interesting tool. When you have the problems and you don't know what's important and what's difficult, you mark it and you really get the solution right in front. So each of these tools actually you can use individually. But I'll solve a myth for you, which I would say 99 design thinkers would never tell you, because they preach design thinking to the level that they forget to tell this. When to do design thinking. There are situations. So imagine that if I have, let's say, problem here and solution here. Imagine you're problem is unknown. Now very important guys for everyone. Imagine your problem is unknown. Or let's start with known. Imagine your problem is known and your solution is also known. What will you do? आपको पता है problem क्या है और आपको पता है solution क्या है. Lean thinking. Write it if you want it. That's called lean thinking. You know the problem, you know the solution. All you have to do is do a lean thinking, do it. Don't sit for design thinking. Right? The second scenario comes here when the problem is known but the solution is unknown. Yeah? You know the problem but you don't know the solution. Can you give me an example quickly for this? You know the problem but you don't know the solution. Coronavirus, you knew the problem, you are like, ये है but अब इसको solve कैसे करना है? Lateral thinking. Yes, we always go towards lateral thinking. I definitely cannot cover it, but I can give you tools which comes into lateral thinking. Let's say Scamper, 6 thinking hats, they come into lateral thinking. You know you don't know the problem but you know the solution. Right? ऐसा बहुत बार होता है. Trust me, हमारे साथ ऐसा बहुत बार होता है that you don't know the problem but you know the solution. Let's say women empowerment. You know the solution. Women have to be equal in the society. Why? There is a question. Why are we even talking about it? Why are we discussing it still? You know the solution. Problem कहाँ है? Honestly, बहुत जगह पे है. कहाँ तक solve करें? Right? That's critical thinking. It requires a lot of critical thinking. So we covered this, we covered this, we covered this. What is this? Where the problem is unknown and the solution is also unknown. So only if you come across a situation where you don't know what's the problem, you don't know what's the solution. And you will come across it in business every now and then. That's why it's very core to business. That you will be like, मुझे अपना business आगे बढ़ाना है. I want to reach to that point. I want to become this kind of career professional. I want to do this, and design thinking will help you. Because you don't know the problem, you will discover it, describe it. You don't know the solution, you will ideate, prototype and test. Yes? Works? So can I expect you all to start working towards design thinking as and when required? Yes? So we'll end this session with a round of I likes and I wishes. So you have your post-its with you. I would request each one of you to actually just write one I like and one I wish on that post-it. All of you. Out of this session, one thing that you liked and one thing that you wish would have been there. So you have, yes, definitely.
Same here. I wish it was a little earlier so that,
Yes. So I really want all of you to write down your I likes and your I wishes. All of you. All of you. What do you like and what do you wish? All of you writing your I likes and I wishes. हाँ, this is easy, हाँ. Problem भी नहीं पता है, solution भी नहीं पता है, तो छोड़ ही दो ना. They're like, why to make it this complex? So guys, are you done writing your I likes and I wishes? So I have these 2 mantras for you. Number 1 is to be relevant into the market and to actually be a leader, because this is a session on leadership. I just want to tell you, have a clear head. All of you, have a clear head. have a thick skin, and have a deep heart. If you can just make a note of it somewhere, note it, it will help you to survive. Have a thick skin. Don't just get emotional every now and then, and don't just run behind things which do not matter. Have a thick skin, have a deep heart. Don't give up your womanhood. Don't give up the instincts, basic instincts as a human or as a woman which you have. Like otherwise, what would be the difference between you and the male counterparts? And we are something, right? Yes? And what was the third one? Clear head. Yes? Perfect. So I think we learned something here which is a science, and you know what, science when perfected becomes art. Art when perfected becomes magic. So this is for all of you to create this magic wherever you go, whenever you go. I don't know if you'll be able to remember whole of this or not, but all I know is that from now onwards, when you walk out of this room, you walk out stronger, you walk out as an artist, because you all can create, and you all can create the magic with the kind of thinking you have. Maybe design thinking is just an add-on, that feather on your cap, but thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for being here. I know how important lunch was for you. Maybe once people have their food, because
No, before food.
before food.
Yeah.
Okay. So by the way, the I like and I wish is one of the most interesting tools of design thinking, which helps you take feedbacks very well, right? So capture your feedbacks, and if you can put it all here, like once you're done, it will be beautiful. By the way, the poetry which I was about to recite is very long, so I don't want to recite it. I can maybe recite a part of it for you, yeah, if that works. And by the expressions I'll get, I'll decide if I have to cut short it in a paragraph or maybe a thing. So what kind of poetry you want to hear? Like I think people either write love or they do love, so I am in love, so I don't write one.
Anything that's your favorite.
Okay, I'll because it's a thing on women. I'll recite something for women, you know. Okay. So मैं कौन हूँ, मैं क्या हूँ, मैं क्यों इतनी बेहया हूँ, मैं क्यों नहीं रह सकती सिमट कर, क्यों मैं मचलती हुई सी हवा हूँ, मेरे चेहरे पे ये हंसी क्यों है, क्यों नहीं मैं मौन हूँ, मेरा अस्तित्व क्यों है खिला खिला, क्यों नहीं मैं गौन हूँ. So I think I have been asked a million times, why are you coming up this strong? And I think the question must have been asked to all of you, why are you coming up this strong? I wish I could tell them that I'm not a scuffle or hope of year-long efforts done not just by women but the men around. जो बीता इतने साल उस सबको गठरी में बांध के कंधे पे डाल के चलती हूँ. मत पूछना ये गठरी कितनी भारी है, क्योंकि मेरी लड़ाई आज भी जारी है. So guys, this is beyond feminism. This is truly beyond feminism and pseudo-feminism. I think we all sitting in this room are little privileged ones. I have met and been with people who are not, and I think when I write for everyone. So this might be a little away from what you have seen or what you believe in, but I truly believe in कि जो बीता इतने साल उस सबको गठरी में डाल के कंधे पे डाल के चलती हूँ, और आज उन सबको कुछ जवाब देना चाहती हूँ. कुछ किया, सुना और देखा उतना ही बताती हूँ. आपके सामने औरत की एक तस्वीर नई सी बनाती हूँ. घर घर जाकर औरत उसके हालात से मिलकर आई. मैं कौन हूँ, मैं क्या हूँ, बस यही बताने आई हूँ. मैं कौन हूँ, मैं क्या हूँ, सवाल अच्छा है मगर जवाब अच्छाई का मोहताज नहीं, क्योंकि मैं वो हूँ जो युगों से कुचली युगों से रौंदी गई, आग की शर्म बताकर चूल्हे में औंधी गई. मैंने कुछ ना भी सहा, मैं बरसों पुरानी लगी आग हूँ. मैं नई सी बोतल में वही पुरानी शराब हूँ, और उम्र में थोड़ी कच्ची हूँ, पर अब नहीं मैं बच्ची हूँ. देखा मैंने असीफ़ा को, अब और नहीं मैं अच्छी हूँ. मैं चुप हूँ, मैं मौन हूँ. मैं कौन हूँ, मैं मोम की कोई गुड़िया नहीं, ना सजावट का खिलौना हूँ. बरसों बरसों से मैंने तराशा जिसे, मैं वो सपना सलूना हूँ, क्योंकि मैं वो नहीं जो दिखाई देती हूँ, मैं सिर्फ जहन में सुनाई देती हूँ. और मेरी भी कुछ पढ़ते हैं, जीवन की कुछ शर्तें हैं. आई थिंक आई एम टॉकिंग ऑन ऑल योर बिहाफ कि मेरी भी कुछ शर्तें हैं, जीवन की कुछ पढ़ते हैं. मेरे ख्वाब सुनहरे हैं, कुछ काले कुछ गहरे हैं. मेरी आंखें भूरी हैं, पर इनमें चाकू छुरी है. आँख मिला के देखो तुम, इनमें कितनी मजबूरी है. और मैं आज यहाँ कुछ कह दूँ तो देना मुझको तुम दोष नहीं. आई नो दिस इज़ एन इवेंट. सो मैं आज यहाँ कुछ कह दूँ तो देना मुझको तुम दोष नहीं, मगर मेरे अधूरे ख्वाबों का ये अंतिम विस्फोट नहीं. क्योंकि मैं बारूद न गोली हूँ, मैं उसे चलाने वाले का हौसला ज़रूरी हूँ. क्योंकि मैं वो नहीं जो दिखाई देती हूँ, मैं सिर्फ जहन में सुनाई देती हूँ. और मैं कल्पना की उड़ान हूँ, मैं देश की पहचान हूँ. मैं कश्मीर की सुंदर वादी ही नहीं, मैं देश का रेगिस्तान हूँ. मैं नहीं राम की सीता, मैं वो दुख हूँ जो उस पर बीता. मैं द्रौपदी नहीं महाभारत की, उस अपमान का परिणाम हूँ. युगों युग से चलने वाले औरत का तिरस्कार हूँ. और तुलसीदास ने लिखा था, ढोल गवार शूद्र पशु नारी ये सब ताड़न के अधिकारी. इसका अर्थ आप अवधि में निकाल लीजिए, किसी में भी निकाल लीजिए. मैं वहाँ नहीं जाना चाहती, मैं बस यहाँ जाना चाहती हूँ कि ढोल गवार इलिटरेट शूद्र पशु के साथ नारी को जिन्होंने रख दिया, मैं उनके बारे में बात करी हूँ कि तुलसीदास से कह देना उनकी सोच के आगे का जहान हूँ मैं. क्योंकि मैं वो नहीं जो खुद में शर्मिंदा हूँ. मैं खिलखिलाती हूँ क्योंकि मैं एक आज़ाद परिंदा हूँ. और सारे मौलवी सारे पंडित ये सब एक फसाना है. सबसे पहला धर्म मेरा खुद में ही खो जाना है. मैं मंदिर का दिया हूँ, उस जंगल की आग भी, अपने सारे ख्वाबों की पहली पहली परवाज़ भी. अपमानों के प्यालों में आज शराब भी पीती हूँ. चौसर में हारी हुई उस अबला की साड़ी सीती हूँ. और मैं कौन हूँ? तो मैं सिर्फ होली का रंग नहीं, मैं होली का दहन की आग हूँ. क्योंकि मैं वो नहीं जो महबूब के होठों से सुनाई देती है, मैं वो हूँ जो खुद को खुद की नज़रों से दिखाई देती है. और मैं कौन हूँ? तो मैं पायल का शोर नहीं. बहुत संजीदा बोलते हैं, समथिंग वेरी मे बी नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल बाई एवरी वन इन टर्म्स ऑफ वर्ड्स. मैं पायल का शोर नहीं, बट आप सब जानते हो मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ. मैं पायल का शोर नहीं, मैं चीख हूँ उन रातों की. हाथों से जिसने बड़ा किया, मैं ख्वाहिश हूँ आँखों की. मैं दबी हुई आवाज़ हूँ, बीता कल आज और एक ख्वाब हूँ. और मैं कौन हूँ? तो मैं साड़ी से झलकता बदन नहीं, मैं अपने आराम का लिबास हूँ. क्योंकि मैं पुरानी रिवायतों की शाम नहीं, एक नई सोच का आगाज़ हूँ. और मैं कौन हूँ? मेरा परिचय अधूरा रह जाएगा अगर मैंने नहीं बताया कि मैं सारे जायज़ इरादों की एक नाजायज़ आवाज़ हूँ. शायद हम सब कि मैं सारे जायज़ इरादों की एक नाजायज़ आवाज़ हूँ. बरसों से देखा गया एक प्यारा ख्वाब हूँ. बीते काले कल का एक सुंदर साज हूँ. एंड दिस इज़ फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू कि बीते काले कल का आप सब ने देखा होगा अपनी मॉम्स को, अपनी दादी को, और हु नॉट इन दिस सोसाइटी, कि बीते काले कल का एक सुंदर साज हूँ. चहकती चिड़ियों में शायद इकलौता बाज हूँ. मगर मुझे महसूस करके देखो, मैं सिर्फ एक जज्बात हूँ. मुझे महसूस करके देखो, मैं सिर्फ एक जज्बात हूँ. थैंक यू सो मच. Thank you so much, everyone. I would still request your eye likes and eye wishes there on the board when you get up. Thank you so much.